A desperate CEO. A failing business empire. A last-ditch effort to save his father's legacy. Victor Hansen stared at the documents before him, the future of GreenMart hanging by a thread. Nutri-Foods was circling like vultures, ready to dismantle everything his father had built. He had 1 month to find answers. In store number 47, the worst-performing location in the chain, something didn't add up. The numbers were too bad to be just incompetence. There had to be more to the story. "I need a new identity," Victor told his HR director. "I'm going undercover." What he discovered would shake the foundation of his company. An assistant manager running a theft operation, a cashier deliberately sabotaging sales, and a mysterious connection to his greatest corporate rival. But in the darkness, he found an unexpected light. Natalie Woodson, a store manager whose unwavering dedication would change everything. "Corporate doesn't care about us. Why should we care about them?" the bitter employees asked. "Because this store matters," Natalie insisted, even as she paid for repairs from her own pocket. Little did she know, the new hire, watching from the shadows, held the fate of the entire company in his hands. And what he witnessed in those 3 days would lead to a revelation that no one saw coming. The elegant corner office on the 40th floor of the GreenMart headquarters offered a panoramic view of the city, but Victor Hansen wasn't admiring the scenery. The 58-year-old CEO stared at the quarterly reports spread across his mahogany desk, his face grim. What had once been the fastest-growing grocery chain in the country was now hemorrhaging money. "We're down 23% compared to last year, and store number 47 is the worst of them all," Victor muttered, running a hand through his salt and pepper hair. "I've replaced the management twice already. What am I missing?" His assistant, Denise, stood in the doorway. "The board is waiting, sir." Victor nodded, gathering the reports. "They want me to sell, don't they?" "The offer from Nutri-Foods is still on the table. It expires next week," Denise replied carefully. In the boardroom, Victor faced 12 skeptical faces. Board member William Pierce didn't waste time. "Victor, it's been 3/4 of consecutive losses. Nutri-Foods is offering a fair price before we lose even more value." "My father built this company from nothing," Victor countered. "There has to be something we're not seeing. Numbers don't tell the whole story." "Then find a better story, fast," William replied. "You have 1 month before we vote to accept the Nutri-Foods offer. Without unanimous approval, your controlling shares won't matter." Back in his office, Victor stared at an old photograph on his wall, his father cutting the ribbon at the first GreenMart store 30 years ago. Next to it hung a framed article, "From Stock Boy to CEO. Victor Hansen continues father's legacy." "I'm missing something," he whispered. "I need to see it firsthand." That night, Victor called his most trusted HR director, Lucia Reyes. "I need a new identity. I'm going undercover." "Like that TV show?" Lucia asked incredulously. "Exactly," Victor confirmed. "Create employee records for Dale Miller, age 49, new hire with retail experience, but new to grocery. Place him at store number 47 beginning Monday." "The worst-performing store in the chain?" "That's in Riverdale, almost 2 hours away." "Perfect. Nobody there knows what I look like. I haven't visited in years." Lucia sighed. "This is either brilliant or insane. I'll have the paperwork ready tomorrow." 3 days later, Dale Miller walked through the employees' entrance of GreenMart number 47. Gone was the tailored suit and confident stride of CEO Victor Hansen. In their place stood a nervous new employee in khakis and a polo shirt, with tinted glasses and a fake mustache that itched terribly. The store looked nothing like the gleaming flagship locations Victor typically visited during scheduled tours. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, floor tiles were cracked, and several freezer cases hummed loudly, clearly in need of maintenance. "You must be the new guy." A young woman with purple-streaked hair and a name tag reading Zoe approached, not bothering to look up from her phone. "Orientation is that way. Try not to quit on your first day. We've had 3 newbies walk out this month already." Victor nodded, taking in the almost empty parking lot visible through the front windows. It was 9:30 a.m. on a Tuesday, prime shopping hours, yet barely any customers were present. The orientation room was a dusty storage closet with a small table and 2 metal folding chairs. A man in his early 30s slouched in one chair, scrolling through his phone. Hello," Victor ventured. "I'm Dale Miller, new employee." The man glanced up with obvious disinterest. "Trent Harlow, assistant manager." "Sit." His name tag was pinned crookedly to a wrinkled uniform shirt. Victor sat while Trent pulled out a stack of papers. Sign here, here, and here. This acknowledges you got all the training videos, safety procedures, and company policies. But I haven't seen any videos, Victor said. Trent rolled his eyes. Nobody watches that garbage. Just sign so I can get you on the floor. We're short-handed. Against his better judgment, Victor signed. Great. You're on Register 3 today. Don't I need training on the system first? Trent snorted. It's a cash register, not rocket science. Zoe will show you the basics. Try not to screw up too badly. He stood to leave, then turned back. Oh, and if Natalie asks, tell her I gave you the full orientation. She's the store manager and a complete pain about following protocol. He made air quotes around the last word. Alone in the room, Victor took out a small notebook and jotted down his first observations. After 5 minutes, the door opened again and Zoe appeared. Come on, newbie. Let's get this over with. At Register 3, Zoe gave Victor a 30-second overview of the antiquated POS system. This thing crashes at least twice a day. When it does, just restart it and add about 10% to whatever the customer's total was before. They never notice. Victor blinked. That's overcharging customers. Zoe shrugged. Company policy is we don't give receipts unless asked, so it all works out. Plus, management expects us to hit certain numbers. She lowered her voice. Between us, there's also a way to void transactions after customers leave. Pocket the cash, system shows 0. Trent taught me that trick. Victor felt his blood pressure rising, but maintained his cover. Isn't that stealing? It's surviving on minimum wage, Zoe replied flatly. Corporate doesn't care about us. Why should we care about them? The big bosses are all getting rich while we get nothing. I thought GreenMart had good benefits. Zoe laughed. Maybe at other stores. Here, Trent manipulates the schedules so nobody qualifies for full-time benefits. We're all kept at 29 hours or less. Before Victor could respond, a sharp voice cut through their conversation. Zoe, why is there no one at Register 1? We have customers waiting. A woman in her mid-40s approached, her GreenMart uniform crisp and professional despite being the same design as Trent's rumpled version. Her name tag read, Natalie Woodson, store manager. And unlike the others, she carried a clipboard and wore a genuine smile despite the obvious stress in her eyes. I'm training the new guy, Zoe replied with barely concealed contempt. Natalie's expression softened when she noticed Victor. You must be Dale? I'm Natalie Woodson, the store manager. I apologize for not being there for your orientation. Tuesday deliveries always keep me busy. She extended her hand, which Victor shook. Nice to meet you, ma'am. Please, it's Natalie. Did Trent cover everything in orientation? Safety procedures? Break policies? Before Victor could answer, Zoe cut in. He covered everything by the book, Natalie. Super thorough. Now can I go back to my register? Natalie nodded, though she looked skeptical. As Zoe walked away, Natalie turned back to Victor. I know it can be overwhelming on the first day. If you have any questions, my door is always open. She hesitated, then added in a lower voice, and don't let the negativity get to you. GreenMart used to be a wonderful place to work. Some of us still believe it can be again. For the first time since arriving, Victor felt a flutter of hope. Here was someone who seemed to care about the company. Thank you, I appreciate that. Natalie was about to say more when a crash sounded from aisle 5. She sighed. Duty calls. Good luck on your first day, Dale. Left alone at Register 3, Victor had only minutes to prepare before his first customer approached, an elderly woman with a small basket of essentials. Good morning. Victor greeted her warmly. Is it? The milk I came for is out of stock again. 3rd time this month. Victor fumbled with the unfamiliar register. I'm sorry to hear that. Is there anything else we could help you find? The woman softened slightly. You're new, aren't you? About time they hired more help. Poor Natalie runs herself ragged trying to keep this place going. Used to be the best store in town before the new owners took over. New owners? Victor asked carefully. Well, not new exactly. But ever since old man Hansen passed away and his son took over, things haven't been the same. Used to know all the employees by name. That one did. Victor felt a pang of guilt. His father had indeed known every employee's name, even as the company expanded. When had Victor stopped making those personal connections? Throughout the morning, Victor struggled with the register while observing the store dynamics. Trent spent most of his time in the back office, emerging only to criticize employees or take mysterious inventory into his car. Zoe deliberately worked slowly, making customers wait while she texted on her phone. And then there was Natalie, constantly in motion, helping customers, restocking shelves, assisting the understaffed deli counter, all while maintaining a professional demeanor despite the chaos around her. During his lunch break, Victor sat alone in the dismal break room, making notes in his small book. The door opened, and Natalie entered with her own lunch, a simple sandwich and apple. "Mind if I join you?" she asked. "Not at all," Victor replied, quickly closing his notebook. As they ate, Natalie shared stories about her 15 years with GreenMart. "I started as a cashier when my twins were just babies. Single mom, needed flexible hours. GreenMart was the only place that would work with my schedule." "You have twins?" Victor asked. Natalie's face lit up. "Joshua and Emma, 16 now, both with special needs. Emma has Down syndrome, and Joshua is on the autism spectrum. They're amazing kids." She pulled out her phone to show photos of two smiling teenagers. "They look very happy," Victor observed. "They are. This job has been our lifeline. The health insurance is what keeps us afloat with their medical needs." Her smile faded slightly. "Though lately, with all the hour cuts and budget slashing, I'm worried. If this store closes..." She didn't finish the sentence, but she didn't need to. Victor felt a weight settle in his chest. His cost-cutting directives, which had looked so sensible on spreadsheets back at headquarters, had real human consequences he'd never considered. The break room door banged open as Trent entered. "Natalie, the dairy supplier is here. They're saying our account is on hold for non-payment." Natalie sighed. "Again? I submitted those invoices weeks ago. Corporate says they never got them." Trent replied with a smirk. "I'll handle it," Natalie said, standing up and wrapping the uneaten half of her sandwich. "Sorry, Dale. Duty calls." As she left, Trent dropped into her vacated chair. "Getting cozy with the boss lady? Word of advice, don't get too attached. This store's circling the drain. Word is corporate selling to Nutri-Foods next month." Victor's eyes widened. "How would you know that?" Trent leaned forward. "I've got connections. Smart employees are already looking for their next gig." He lowered his voice further. "In fact, if you're interested in making some real money while this ship sinks, I might have an opportunity for you." "What kind of opportunity?" "Let's just say certain inventory items are worth more on the secondary market than sitting on our shelves. Small electronics, premium liquor, high-end health supplements. They tend to fall off the truck before they ever hit the sales floor." "You're stealing from the store?" Victor asked, forgetting his cover for a moment. Trent's eyes narrowed. "I prefer to call it alternative compensation for all the hours and benefits they've cut." "You in or out?" Victor hesitated, then nodded slowly. "I'll think about it." Trent stood up. "Don't think too long. Like I said, this place won't be around much longer." He left, leaving Victor alone with the disturbing realization that the problems at store number 47 ran far deeper than he had imagined. As his first day continued, Victor witnessed more concerning behavior: Trent falsifying inventory records, Zoe deliberately shortchanging customers, and both of them undermining Natalie at every turn. Yet despite it all, Natalie maintained her professionalism and even her optimism. When a customer knocked over an entire display of pasta sauce, it was Natalie who cleaned it up while Trent and Zoe watched from a distance, snickering. When the computerized ordering system malfunctioned, Victor overheard Natalie making a call. "Hi, this is Natalie Woodson from store number 47. Yes, our order system is down again. No, I understand headquarters can't approve an emergency order. Actually, I'll just put it on my personal credit card again. The customers need their prescriptions." By closing time, Victor was exhausted, angry, and heartbroken about the state of his father's legacy. But as he was preparing to leave, Natalie approached him. "How was your first day, Dale?" "Honestly, pretty overwhelming." Natalie smiled sympathetically. "It gets better. This store has good bones, you know. Great location, loyal customers who've been coming here for decades. It just needs some TLC and the right leadership." She glanced around to ensure they were alone. "Between us, I've been working on a revitalization proposal for corporate. Budget-neutral changes that could turn this place around. I've submitted it 3 times, but it never seems to make it past regional management." Victor felt a flicker of interest. "What kind of changes?" Natalie's eyes lit up. Community engagement initiatives, local product partnerships, staff incentive programs that reward teamwork instead of just sales numbers. The kinds of things that made GreenMart special in the first place. For the first time that day, Victor felt a genuine smile form. I'd love to hear more about that sometime. Really? Most new hires are just counting the minutes until they can leave. I'm not most new hires, Victor replied, with more truth than Natalie could know. See you tomorrow. As Victor drove away from store number 47, his mind raced with everything he'd witnessed. The corruption was worse than he'd imagined, but in Natalie Woodson, he'd found something unexpected, someone who still believed in what GreenMart could be. He picked up his phone and called Lucia at HR. I need everything you can find on Natalie Woodson, store manager at location 47. And I need copies of any proposals she sent to headquarters that never made it up the chain. Finding anything wrong with her? Lucia asked. Just the opposite, Victor replied. I think I might have found exactly what I've been looking for. Victor arrived for his second day at store number 47 earlier than scheduled, hoping to observe the opening procedures. To his surprise, Natalie was already there, wiping down dusty shelves that should have been cleaned the night before. Morning, Dale, she called out, spotting him in the doorway. You're eager. I like that. Just wanted to get a feel for the whole operation, Victor replied, setting down his worn backpack, part of his Dale Miller disguise. Can I help? Natalie handed him a cleaning cloth. Always. The night crew has been short-staffed for months. Corporate keeps cutting hours, so basics like this don't get done. As they worked side by side, Victor asked questions about store operations while Natalie shared insights about their customer base and community. Her knowledge impressed him. She knew regular customers by name, their preferences, even details about their families. Mrs. Patterson comes every Tuesday for her grandson's gluten-free items, Natalie explained, reorganizing a special diet section. Her daughter works 2 jobs, so Mrs. Patterson helps with the shopping. We always set aside the new products for her to try. That's not standard procedure, is it? Victor asked, thinking of the rigid corporate protocols he'd implemented. Natalie smiled wryly. No. Standard procedure would be to fill shelf space with whatever sells fastest. But we're not just a store, Dale. We're part of this community. That personal touch is what used to set GreenMart apart. Used to. Before the focus became purely about numbers, she said with a sigh. I understand business needs, but serving our community and making profit don't have to be mutually exclusive. Their conversation was interrupted by Trent's arrival, 15 minutes late, and irritated to find them already working. What's this? The welcome wagon, he sneered, tossing his jacket onto the customer service counter. Natalie, regional office, is on the phone again about those missing inventory reports. Natalie frowned. I submitted those yesterday. Well, they're saying they never got them. Again. Trent's smile didn't reach his eyes. Technology, am I right? So unreliable. As Natalie hurried to her office, Trent turned to Victor. Eager beaver, aren't you? Careful, or you'll make the rest of us look bad. Just learning the ropes, Victor replied neutrally. Speaking of learning, Trent lowered his voice. Thought more about my offer? Got a shipment of premium vitamins coming in today. They retail for $50 a bottle, but sell for double on certain websites. Half those bottles could disappear during inventory, and nobody would be the wiser. Victor maintained his cover. How would that even work? Trent glanced around to ensure they were alone. Simple. I doctored the receiving paperwork to show we got less than actually delivered. The extras never officially exist in the system. Natalie's too trusting to double-check the delivery truck's paperwork against what I record. Victor fought to keep his expression neutral while his blood boiled. No wonder store number 47 was hemorrhaging money. Sounds risky. Only if you get caught. Trent winked. Been doing it for months. Between that and the register skimming Zoe handles, we've got a nice little side hustle. Corporate's too busy with their spreadsheets to notice what happens on the ground. The front doors opened as the first customers arrived. Trent straightened up. Think about it. In this economy, everyone needs a backup plan. The morning rush began, such as it was for the struggling store. Victor was assigned to stock shelves while observing operations. Around 10 a.m., Zoe arrived, also late, offering no explanation as she clocked in. You're working dairy with the new guy today, Trent told her. Try not to scare him off. Fantastic, Zoe muttered, rolling her eyes. Follow me, rookie. In the dairy section, Zoe demonstrated a shocking level of carelessness. dropping items roughly into refrigerated cases. Careful, Victor said as she nearly shattered a glass bottle of chocolate milk. Those break easily. So what? More work for the cleanup crew. She shrugged. Besides, damaged merchandise gets written off. Helps Trent's numbers look better somehow. Deliberately breaking products can't be company policy, Victor countered. Zoe snorted. Look at you, company man already. Let me tell you about GreenMart's real policies. They hire young, desperate people, work them just under the benefits threshold, then act surprised when employees find creative ways to compensate themselves. Is that why you work here? For creative compensation. Something flashed in Zoe's eyes, a glimpse of vulnerability quickly masked with cynicism. I work here because life dealt me a crap hand. Community college dropout, 3 younger siblings at home, and parents who can barely make rent. This job's just a means to an end. What's the end? Getting my real business off the ground, she replied, lowering her voice. I'm developing an app. Investment capital is hard to come by, so I do what I have to. Victor was about to probe further when an elderly customer approached, looking confused. Excuse me, do you work? Customer service is at the front. Zoe interrupted without looking up. The elderly man's face fell. I just wanted to know where you moved the lactose-free milk. Before Zoe could respond, Victor stepped in. I'd be happy to help you find that, sir. He guided the customer to the correct location while Zoe scoffed behind them. When he returned, Zoe was texting again. You're wasting your time with the hand-holding. Focus on stocking so we can finish and take our breaks. Helping customers is literally our job, Victor pointed out. No, our job is whatever gets us paid. Everything else is extra. The conversation ended as Natalie appeared, looking harried. Zoe, I need you on register too. The line's backing up and Trent had to step out. Step out? Again? It's not even lunch yet. Just please help out front, Natalie said firmly. As Zoe stomped away, Natalie turned to Victor with an apologetic smile. Sorry about that. Can you finish the dairy section? The delivery's already late, and when it arrives, I'll need all hands on deck. No problem, Victor assured her. Everything okay? You seem stressed. Natalie hesitated. Just the usual fires to put out. Our supply chain issues are getting worse. Corporate keeps cutting our order quantities below what we need, claiming it's inventory optimization, but we keep running out of basics. That doesn't make sense, Victor frowned, genuinely puzzled. His inventory reduction initiative was supposed to be data-driven, not arbitrary. Tell me about it. I've sent documented proof that we're losing sales because of stockouts, but she was interrupted by her radio crackling. Manager to customer service, code yellow. Natalie sighed. Duty calls. A code yellow means a customer complaint, probably about the long lines. Victor continued stocking while processing this information. His cost-cutting measures, which looked reasonable at headquarters, were clearly failing in practice. Something wasn't adding up. Around noon, he was called to help unload a delivery. In the back room, he watched carefully as Trent checked in the shipment, noting how he quickly separated several boxes. These go directly to my office for processing, Trent told the driver, who seemed unsurprised by the irregular procedure. Victor volunteered to help Trent move the boxes. These seem important. Special inventory. Something like that, Trent replied vaguely. Corporate promotional items. Nothing exciting. But when they reached Trent's office, Victor glimpsed the contents. Premium vitamins, just as Trent had mentioned, plus high-end organic skincare products. All items with high resale value. I could use help inventorying these later, Trent suggested. Off the clock, of course. $20 an hour, cash. I'll think about it, Victor replied. During his lunch break, Victor found a quiet corner to make notes on his phone about what he'd observed. He was interrupted by a commotion at the front of the store. A customer was shouting at Zoe, whose bored expression only fueled the woman's anger. I know you overcharged me last week. My receipt from the other GreenMart shows these items for nearly 20% less. Prices vary by location, Zoe drawled, examining her nails. It's on the sign by the door. There is no such sign, the woman exclaimed. Not my problem if you can't read. The situation was escalating when Natalie appeared, smoothly stepping in. I'm so sorry for the confusion, ma'am. You're absolutely right. Our prices should be consistent with other locations. Let me check these items in our system. Natalie quickly identified the discrepancy and issued a refund, plus a gift card for the inconvenience. The customer left satisfied, while Natalie pulled Zoe aside for a quiet but firm conversation. Victor couldn't hear the exchange, but Zoe's body language spoke volumes, defensive at first, then increasingly sullen as Natalie continued. When Zoe returned to her register, she was clearly fuming. "Princess Perfect strikes again," she muttered to Victor when he approached. "Always following the rules like they're sacred texts. She seems to care about doing things right," Victor observed. "Yeah, and look where it's gotten her. Stuck managing this failing store while corporate ignores everything she says." Zoe's expression darkened. "You know she's been passed over for regional manager 3 times? Always goes to some guy from outside who doesn't know the first thing about actual store operations." Victor felt a pang of guilt, remembering his own hiring decisions that had favored external candidates with prestigious business degrees over internal promotions. The afternoon brought new challenges. The antiquated refrigeration system in the dairy section failed, threatening thousands of dollars in inventory. Natalie immediately organized a team to move perishables to functioning units. Corporate denied the repair request again. She explained to Victor as they rushed to save the merchandise. 3rd time this year. The quote was $2,200 for a proper fix. "That's not much considering the potential loss," Victor noted. "Exactly," Natalie exclaimed, clearly grateful someone understood. "But they keep insisting we use the approved vendor who charges triple and has a 2-week wait time. Meanwhile, there's a local company that could do it today." Victor watched in amazement as Natalie called the local repair company herself, then pulled out her personal credit card when they arrived. "Invoice me directly," she told the technician. "I'll sort it out with corporate later." "You're paying for store repairs yourself?" Victor asked incredulously when the technician left to get parts. Natalie looked embarrassed. "Sometimes it's the only way to get things done. I submit the receipts for reimbursement, but they're usually denied. Small price to pay for keeping this place running." "That's dedication beyond what anyone could expect. This store matters to me, Dale. It's not just my job. It's part of who I am." She glanced around at the worn but clean space. "My twins had their first jobs here, bagging groceries. This community depends on us. The nearest other grocery store is over 5 miles away. Impossible for our elderly customers who walk here." Victor felt a growing respect for this woman who embodied the values his father had built the company on, values he'd allowed to be eroded in pursuit of efficiency and profit margins. Later that afternoon, Victor was summoned to Trent's office. Inside, he found Trent and Zoe huddled over a laptop. "Close the door," Trent instructed. "We're bringing you in on something big, but first, you need to sign this." He pushed a non-disclosure agreement across the desk. Victor hesitated. "What's this about?" Zoe rolled her eyes. "It's not a blood oath, just a confidentiality thing. Standard for what we're doing." Keeping his cover, Victor signed with Dale Miller's signature. Immediately, Trent turned the laptop to show him a spreadsheet. "This is our side business. We've been diverting premium merchandise for months, selling through online marketplaces. Started small, but we're pulling in serious cash now." The spreadsheet showed sales figures approaching $10,000 monthly, all from stolen GreenMart inventory. "That's a lot of creative compensation," Victor observed carefully. "And it gets better," Trent continued eagerly. "We've got a buyer interested in regular bulk purchases. A competitor who loves getting GreenMart products at wholesale prices." "Which competitor?" Trent and Zoe exchanged glances. "NutriFoods," Zoe finally said. "They've got a sourcing manager who doesn't ask questions about where the stuff comes from." Victor felt a cold wave of realization. NutriFoods, the same company trying to buy GreenMart. Were they deliberately undermining his stores to drive down the purchase price? "This sounds risky," Victor said. "What if management catches on?" Trent laughed. "Management? Natalie's too busy playing hero and filing reports nobody reads. And corporate? They couldn't find their way out of a spreadsheet. Besides, we've got someone on the inside helping mask the inventory discrepancies." "Who?" "Above your pay grade, newbie," Zoe cut in. "Point is, this store's going down anyway. Word is NutriFoods is buying GreenMart next month. Might as well grab what we can before it all changes hands." "So why tell me?" Victor asked. "We need another set of hands," Trent explained. "Someone to help with pickups and deliveries. The operation's growing faster than we can handle. You get a 10% cut of whatever you move. Cash, untraceable. Think about it," Zoe added. "But don't think too long. This train's leaving the station with or without you. Victor nodded slowly. I'll let you know tomorrow. As he left Trent's office, his mind raced. The corruption was worse than he'd imagined, potentially reaching into his corporate offices. Who was their inside person? And was NutriFoods deliberately sabotaging his company to force the sale? The afternoon shifted to evening as closing procedures began. Victor observed how Trent and Zoe rushed through their closing duties, cutting corners at every opportunity, while Natalie meticulously followed procedures despite being visibly exhausted. At one point, Victor found Natalie in the break room, hunched over a stack of papers. Working late? He asked. She looked up with tired eyes. Just trying to make sense of these inventory discrepancies. We're showing shortfalls in certain categories every month, but I can't pinpoint the issue. Victor glanced at the reports, immediately recognizing the categories aligned with Trent and Zoe's theft operation. Anything I can help with? That's kind of you. But this is management's headache. She rubbed her temples. Though I'm beginning to think I'm missing something obvious. Maybe fresh eyes would help? Victor suggested. Natalie hesitated, then slid some papers toward him. These are the receiving logs for premium vitamins and organics for the past 3 months. See anything odd? Victor carefully reviewed the documents, noting the discrepancies between delivery manifests and entered inventory. The pattern was clear to him. Trent was altering records to hide the theft, but he had to be careful not to appear too knowledgeable. The quantities seem inconsistent, he observed. The delivery manifests show higher numbers than what's being entered into inventory. Natalie's eyes widened. You're right. How did I miss that? She quickly flipped through more reports. It's happening across multiple categories, all high-value items. She looked up at Victor with new appreciation. You've got a good eye for detail, Dale. Just lucky, I guess, Victor replied modestly. This could explain our shortfalls. But why would? Her voice trailed off as realization dawned. Trent handles all these receiving logs. Victor saw the conflict in her eyes, the reluctance to suspect her assistant manager, battling with the evidence before her. I should report this to corporate immediately, she said, gathering the papers. What will they do? Victor asked carefully. Natalie sighed. Honestly, probably send an email about proper receiving procedures and schedule a conference call that resolves nothing. They haven't exactly been responsive to my concerns lately. Maybe gather more evidence first. Victor suggested. You're right. I need to be certain before making accusations. She studied him curiously. You seem to understand business operations pretty well for someone new to grocery. Victor tensed slightly. I've worked retail before. Different products, same principles. Natalie nodded, apparently satisfied with his explanation. Well, I'm glad you're here, Dale. It's refreshing to have someone who actually cares about doing things right. Victor felt a pang of guilt for his deception, even as he recognized its necessity. The store's lucky to have you, Natalie. Not many managers would put in this kind of effort. It's not just effort, she replied softly. It's belief in what this place could be again. My proposal to corporate outlines exactly how to turn things around here. The one that keeps getting lost in the system? That's the one. She pulled a thick binder from her desk drawer. Local partnerships, community engagement programs, staff incentive structures that reward teamwork. All budget neutral or with positive ROI within 6 months. Victor leafed through the pages, impressed by the thoroughness and practical approach. It was exactly the kind of ground-level innovation his father would have championed, and exactly what he'd lost sight of in his focus on quarterly numbers. This is really good, Natalie. Professional-grade business planning. Night school MBA, she explained with a modest shrug. Took me 6 years, studying after the twins went to bed. Finished last year. Victor was stunned. This woman had managed a failing store, raised special needs children, uncovered a theft operation, funded store repairs from her own pocket, and earned an MBA in her spare time. Meanwhile, he'd been rejecting her proposals without even reading them. Corporate's making a huge mistake ignoring this, he said honestly. Maybe someday the right person will see it, Natalie replied, putting the binder away. Until then, I just do my best with what I have. As the store finally closed, Victor helped Natalie with final lockup procedures while Trent and Zoe had already departed, Trent claiming a doctor's appointment. Zoe simply walking out at closing time despite unfinished tasks. In the empty parking lot, Victor watched Natalie head to her modest sedan, a far cry from the luxury vehicles preferred by most store managers he knew. Before getting in, She paused to pick up litter around the parking lot. One final act of care for a store that corporate had all but abandoned. Victor sat in his rental car long after Natalie had driven away, making detailed notes about everything he'd learned. The store's problems weren't just bad management or economic factors. They were systemic failures compounded by outright criminal activity. And at the center of the storm stood Natalie Woodson, fighting a battle she couldn't possibly win alone. Not without someone who could make real changes at the corporate level. He started his car, determination solidifying into a plan. Tomorrow would bring the confrontation and revelations that would change everything, for store number 47, for Natalie, and for the future of GreenMart itself. Victor arrived at store number 47 earlier than usual on his third day. This time, he wore no disguise. His Dale Miller persona had served its purpose. Today, he was Victor Hansen, CEO of GreenMart, and he was ready to set things right. He sat quietly in his car, watching Natalie arrive first as usual. 15 minutes later, Trent pulled up, talking animatedly on his phone. Zoe arrived last, barely on time. Once all three were inside, Victor made a call. Lucia, is the team in position? Yes, sir. Regional management, HR, and security are all parked behind the building. Legal is on standby. Are you sure about this approach? We could handle this more discreetly. No, Victor replied firmly. This needs to be transparent. The store deserves to see accountability in action. Inside, Victor found the store preparing to open. He walked directly to the manager's office where Natalie was reviewing reports. Excuse me, Dale, I wasn't expecting. She stopped mid-sentence, confusion crossing her face as she registered his changed appearance. Good morning, Natalie, Victor said calmly. I need to speak with you, Trent, and Zoe immediately. Before we open. Is everything okay? You look different. Very different, Victor acknowledged. And no, everything is not okay. But it will be. Minutes later, in the store's break room, Natalie, Trent, and Zoe sat facing Victor, varying degrees of confusion on their faces. What's this about? Trent demanded. And why are you wearing a suit, Dale? Victor stood tall. My name isn't Dale Miller. I'm Victor Hansen, CEO of GreenMart. The reaction was immediate. Zoe's jaw dropped. Trent's face drained of color. Natalie's eyes widened in shock. This is a joke, right? Zoe laughed nervously. It's no joke, Victor replied, producing his ID badge. I've been undercover for the past 3 days, investigating why store number 47 has been underperforming. Mr. Hansen, Natalie stammered. I had no idea. I would have prepared. Victor raised a hand. That was precisely the point, Natalie. I needed to see the unvarnished truth. Trent quickly recovered, his expression shifting to ingratiating. Sir, if I'd known, I would have shown you our real operational strategies. What you've seen isn't representative. Actually, Trent, I've seen more than enough, Victor cut him off. Including your creative compensation operation. Trent's smile vanished. Sir, I don't know what what you think you saw, but... Save it, Victor interrupted, opening a laptop. Your entire operation is documented. The altered receiving logs. The diverted inventory. Your arrangement with Nutri-Foods. Zoe paled. We can explain. The explanation is simple, Victor continued. You've been stealing from this company and deliberately undermining this store. The question is why? Trent's demeanor changed completely. Why? Because this company doesn't care about its employees. Cutting hours, denying benefits, ignoring store needs. You sit in your corporate tower making decisions that hurt real people. So your solution was theft? My solution was survival. Trent shouted. And it wasn't just me. I had help from inside headquarters. The room fell silent. Victor leaned forward. Who? Trent smirked. Your brother. Anthony Hansen. Natalie gasped while Victor processed this revelation. His estranged brother, who'd left the company years ago after their father passed the leadership to Victor instead. Anthony approached us 6 months ago. Trent continued, seeing no reason to hold back now. Said if we helped drive down this store's performance, make it look unsalvageable, he'd ensure we had positions when Nutri-Foods took over. He's been working with them to acquire GreenMart piece by piece. So the sabotage, the theft, the missing reports, all coordinated. Trent confirmed with perverse pride. Anthony has people in your headquarters intercepting Natalie's proposals, denying maintenance requests, altering inventory reports. The whole system is compromised, Mr. CEO. Victor turned to Zoe. And you went along with this? Zoe looked defensive, but also scared. I needed the money for my app development. Trent said nobody would get hurt, just corporate profits. And your brother promised us director positions after the takeover. Victor turned to Natalie, whose face showed hurt and betrayal. Natalie, did you have any idea about this? No, sir, she whispered, visibly shaken. I knew something was wrong, but I never imagined. She looked at Trent and Zoe. We're supposed to be a team. This store serves our community. Community doesn't pay my bills, Trent snapped. Victor had heard enough. He opened the door and signaled. Immediately, regional management, HR representatives, and security entered. Trent Harlow and Zoe Phillips. You're terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you to collect your belongings. He nodded to the security team. And our legal department is waiting to discuss the criminal charges. You can't do this. Trent protested. We'll expose everything. Your brother's involvement, the corporate negligence. By all means, Victor replied calmly. Tell everyone. I have nothing to hide and everything to correct. As security led Trent and Zoe away, Victor turned to Natalie, who sat perfectly still, processing everything. I'm so sorry, Mr. Hansen, she finally said. I should have caught this sooner. Natalie, you have nothing to apologize for, Victor replied sincerely. You're the only reason this store has survived at all. But my performance metrics were sabotaged at every turn, Victor finished. I've read your proposals. All of them. They never reached my desk until yesterday when I specifically requested them. They're brilliant, by the way. Natalie's eyes widened. You read them? Every word. Your community engagement initiatives, your staffing structure, your local product partnerships. They're exactly what GreenMart needs. Not just here, but company-wide. I don't understand. Victor sat across from her. Natalie, I came here expecting to find incompetence. Instead, I found corruption working against exceptional leadership, yours. You've paid for repairs from your own pocket, worked unpaid overtime, and still believed in this company despite everything. Natalie blushed slightly. This store is important to me. And you're important to GreenMart, Victor replied. Which is why I'm offering you a new position, Vice President of Store Operations. Natalie blinked. I'm sorry, what? GreenMart needs your perspective at the executive level. Your ground-level knowledge, your community focus, your integrity. A position I'm creating specifically for you, reporting directly to me. But my store, my team, will receive full renovation and staffing. Store number 47 will become our flagship for the new initiative rollout. Your initiatives. We're canceling the Nutri-Foods deal and reinvesting in our stores. Tears welled in Natalie's eyes. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Victor smiled. Your salary will triple. You'll have comprehensive benefits for you and your twins, and a flexible schedule to accommodate their needs. Mr. Hansen, this is overwhelming. It's Victor, and it's the least I can do to start correcting my mistakes. I lost sight of what made this company special, the people. My father knew that. You reminded me. 6 months later, store number 47 was unrecognizable, freshly renovated, fully staffed, and buzzing with customers. Community events filled the calendar, local products lined the shelves, and employees worked with pride and purpose. Natalie thrived in her new role, traveling between stores implementing her vision company-wide. Her twins, now with access to better resources, were flourishing too. Employee satisfaction scores had risen 45%, and GreenMart stock price with them. As for Trent and Zoe, justice took different paths. Facing serious charges, they provided evidence against Anthony Hansen, exposing his corporate espionage. Anthony now faced federal charges while Nutri-Foods dealt with their own legal and PR nightmare for participating in the scheme. Trent, unrepentant, received the maximum sentence for his role. Zoe, however, cooperated fully and showed genuine remorse. The judge, recognizing her potential, sentenced her to community service at a business incubator, where her app development skills could be redirected positively. Victor stood in the center of store number 47 during its grand reopening celebration, watching Natalie cut the ribbon. The local news was covering the event, not just for the renovation, but for the story behind it. How one dedicated manager's belief in her store had ultimately saved an entire company. GreenMart isn't just changing its stores, Victor told the reporters. We're changing how we operate fundamentally. We're returning to our roots, serving communities through our people. Later, as the celebration continued, Natalie approached Victor with a smile. Not exactly how I imagined meeting the CEO. Victor laughed. Not how I imagined finding my company's future either. But I'm grateful every day that I took a chance on becoming Dale Miller. So am I, Natalie replied. Though I still can't believe you cleaned all those dairy cases. Best education I ever got, Victor said sincerely. Better than any business school. As they looked around at the vibrant store, employees engaging warmly with customers, community members gathering by the new cafe area, even former customers returning to see the changes, Victor realized they'd created something his father would have been proud of. Sometimes the most valuable person isn't the one with the highest title or the corner office. Sometimes it's the one who keeps believing when everyone else has given up. The one who sees potential where others see only problems. For GreenMart, that person had been Natalie Woodson, the store manager who was the only one who trusted an undercover boss. And in doing so, saved not just a store, but a legacy.